Hello Clever Pickles, welcome to today's handwriting video. Before we get started, I think this is a great time to go back and have a look at the wonderful things you've done in your book. So this is what I have been writing in, and something I like to focus on obviously is making sure that I'm not skipping any pages, keeping everything neat and tidy. This is what I started with these handwriting lessons, and you'll start to notice sometimes your lead pencils or your color pencils start to rub on other pages. Don't worry about going back and rubbing those things out. It's part of the learning process, and it reminds us that we've been working really hard on our handwriting. Sometimes you can see the letters through the page, especially if you hold it up, to the light. That's fine. That's what our books look like. This is worked in, this is learning. So sometimes it's good to go back and just remember the shapes that you made, the way that you formed them to write your letters, because as we go through, we're going to write more and more words, and as you get older, you will be writing longer words as well that utilize all of these letters and these sounds too. And it's good to know that you've got that practice behind you. You haven't forgotten how to form these letters, and sometimes you'll notice that you've improved. Before, when I did an A at the beginning of my book, maybe it wasn't that neat, and I've started to notice that, hey, that's getting a bit neater. And it's always good for you to celebrate and recognize your own improvement. So today I'm going on to my next page, and I'm making sure that I'm not accidentally doubling up on pages like this. Separate them, make sure I can see that I'm on the right page before I get started. When you get started, make sure that your pencil is sharp as well. So I have these two at the moment, and if I wanted to, take this pencil here and go and sharpen it, I could probably waste time and do that, or I could just pick up the pencil that has already been sharpened. Now, I could still write with this one. It will still put a mark on the page, but today when I really want to focus on forming my letters, I'm going to use this one. Now, I also have with me my blue, my green, and my brown in case I want to practice forming my sky, my grass, and my ground, which I might do right now. Remembering our main section that most of our letters are formed in is the grass section here in the middle. Things that go up, like capitals, or a dot on an I, they go up into the sky, and then any of our tails go down into the ground. Now I'm imagining that color is along here, and I'm imagining that this is the grass along here. I'm not coloring the whole page. That would be a very big waste of time, and it would also mean that I'm using up all the energy in my wrist and my fingers that I should be using for my letters. Don't use a pencil like this. This is a very tiny pencil, and it makes me want to put my fingers down here so that this section of the pencil can rest on almost my knuckle here at the top. That's the natural way that your fingers want to hold a pencil, because if I put my fingers where I really should be putting it, a little bit away from the base there, now I've got nothing here to rest against my knuckle, and my letters are not going to form correctly. So when your teacher or your parents or your friend says to you, hey, that's not the best pencil to use, it's not because we want you to throw away your pencils. This will be fine for coloring in or doing something else later on. But when we're trying our best at handwriting, this is not the best thing to use. Okay, let's move on. Today we are focusing on forming the letter H. We're going to practice with a date. Now remember, when I do this, I pick any date that I want. You need to pick the correct date. Today, I'm going to pick Thursday. I'm pretending that it's Thursday. And oh my gosh, I'm a little bit wobbly today, and that's okay because this is my warm-up. I'm not worried about doing the date perfectly today. That is not my learning intention. My learning intention is the letter H, so I'm just using this as a warm-up. I'm going to pretend it is the 15th. And remember, numbers are like capitals. They go up to that top dotted line in the sky. I'm still going to pretend it's April because I think that's what I was pretending last time. And our P goes down, and I need to remember a dot for my I. And it's 2020. I wonder if people will still be using these videos in 2021. Okay, let's move on to our capital H. Now remember to take your time. If I go too fast, you can pause the video. Now a capital H starts up here in the sky on our top dotted line because it is a capital. We are using the straight down line, the same thing that we used for T, for L, and you will use it for lots of other letters as well. So let's try it here. So I go down, across, and then down. And look at that. I haven't touched it properly very well there, and it hasn't stayed on that line. So that's not my best go for the first one. That's okay. I'm going to leave a finger space. I'm going to imagine that my finger is there, and I'm going to do this again. And that one was much better. I've kept it on the line there. So let's try it again. Now what you want to do is try and keep these lines here parallel, which means they don't actually ever touch. If I imagine these lines continue down like train tracks, they won't touch. If I did it like this one's going crooked. If I imagine those lines going down and down, they would eventually touch. So I don't like that one because that's crooked. I also want to make sure that I'm keeping them the same width. If I suddenly make this as my H, that's not the same size as all of my other capitals or letters that I'm using. It's taking up way too much space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 5 letters. I need one more. Remember, when we do this, we only use 6 letters on one line because that is enough practice for one letter. And it leaves us room over here if our teacher or our parent or anyone who's doing this with us wants to role model something. Okay, now we need to move on to the lowercase h. Lowercase h still starts off the exact same way with one line starting at the top dotted line coming down. To finish it off though, we're going to bump it the same way we would with an N. So it's the same shape we use for M and N, and we're going to use it with a H, so we have a straight line down from the top, bump it over. Beautiful. I'm actually quite happy with those ones. Straight line down, bump it over. Now, just like I reminded you with this big wide H here, we're trying to keep these the same distance. So I could almost turn that into a capital H if I had another line down there. It would look very similar. So let's look at what it would be if it was too wide. Way too wide. That almost looks like I'm going to start creating a whole other different letter. So let's go back to our normal one. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more makes 6. I actually went a bit above the line on that one, so I've got to be mindful of that. Okay, now we're going to write 3 words that start with the letter H. Let's start with hot. So we can use that straight line down, bump it over, our oval that we learned already for O, and then a straight line down again, very similar, but we cross it for a T. Finger space before the next word, and we're going to do home. So H-O again, same start, different sounds though. Instead of hot, we've got home. And then M we have already learnt, and we're going to finish it off with an E. Excellent. Our next one is heart. So starting with that H right there, we're going to go E. We have done A before. Here is our R. We bump over, very similar to the H, and then that line with a cross for a T. And look at that, I've missed at the bottom there, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that because H is my focus today. Okay, if I'm going too fast, remember, pause the video and catch up, and then just press play when you're ready. All right, our next word, we're going to put H at the beginning and the end with the word high. So H at the start here, don't forget to dot your I. G has a tail, and then finish off with another H. And then have a look and see, does your first H look the same as your second H? Our goal is to keep our letters looking very similar every time we do it. Our next one is wash. So I'm imagining a finger space here, and I'm going to curve around for my W. A we have already practiced. S we have already practiced, and I'm going to do a straight line and bump it over for a H. And the last one is much. Finger space in your head. M we have learnt before. U, C, and then up the top for a H. And look at that, H is the only one that goes into the sky for this one. Okay, for our last line today, as is tradition, we're going to turn this into a picture. We're going to use the capital H for this one. So we need 6 capital H formations across here. Imagine those finger spaces. If you can't imagine them, use your finger, that's okay. make sure you put your finger. If your book moves a little bit, you need to take it off. Hold your book. How many have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, oh, that one was a little bit crooked, but that's okay. H. So well, let's turn these into little houses today. And I said you could pull this out for drawing. I'm going to, because I'm just going to use it to draw a roof on each one of these. And I think I will make a blue door for each house. And I'm going to have another colour pencil ready in a minute for a window. Now I'm doing these nice and quick. This shouldn't take you too long. Let's make it an orange window. Orange window. That's a very colourful house. I don't know of any houses that have a blue door and an orange window. And I'm going to use my dark black one to, oh, it's a blue actually. I thought this was black. A chimney at the top of every house. There we go. And I have finished with the letter H for today. Thank you for joining in. I hope you enjoyed that one. Keep practicing. Bye guys.